The Forgiveness Garden by Lauren Thompson. Pictures by Christy Hale. There was a valley, and through the valley ran a stream. The village of Viam stood on one side, and the village of Gamta stood on the other. There was no peace in the valley, for the two villages had hated each other for a long, long time. One day, a new argument sparked. Both villages claimed a certain part of their stream as their own. Angry words flew across the stream, then stones. A Gamta boy named Karun picked up a large stone and hurled it across the water. A Viam girl named Sama stood where the stone fell. The stone hit Sama hard on the head, and she fell hard to the ground. The villagers of Viam ran to help. The villagers of Gamta cheered and ran away. The Viams called out for revenge. They were angry, and they were afraid. Would the Gamtas never stop fighting us? They gathered around Sama, admiring her courage and plotting their revenge against the Gamtas. And as days passed, Sama's pain began to lessen, but her hatred of the Gamtas grew. And in the village of Gamta, too, the people were angry, and they were afraid. Would the Viams fight us always? They gathered around Karun, praising his courage and scheming how to defend against the Viams. Karun secretly wondered how brave he had truly been, but his hatred for the Viams only grew. One day Sama walked along the stream, yearning for something to ease her aching, angry heart. She reached a calm pool and bent to drink. What she saw reflected there stopped her. She saw the ugly scar, but most of all, she saw her own dark, brooding scowl. "Who have I become?" she cried. Sama wept for a long time. Then Sama looked across the stream. There a few children from Gamta walked together. How scared and angry and sad they looked. Sama's heart softened. They are just like us, she thought. Suddenly, a few of Sama's own people ran up. "Here you are," they shouted. "The time for revenge has come." And they pulled her away to join the fight. Villagers from Viam and Gamta crowded the stream. The Viams held a captive. It was Karun. And they all held stones. A large stone was put into Sama's hand. It was the stone that Karun had thrown. "Throw the stone at him," her people hissed. "Throw it hard." Sama looked at all the villagers, those from Viam and those from Gamta. Their faces were like hers, had been hardened with anger and fear and hate. Suddenly, Selma knew what she had to do. "No," she said in a loud, clear voice. "I won't hurt him. Let the boy go." Her people grumbled. Selma went on. "It's time to stop the fighting," she said. "We must stop hurting and hating." And she flung the large stone to the ground. "Let us build a garden instead," she said. Now, all of the people grumbled. Someone shouted, "What kind of garden?" Selma knew. A forgiveness garden. Some people gasped. Some scoffed. Some just laughed. But some from Viam murmured, "If Selma wants it." They let Karoon go. Then they piled their stones near Selma's. Some from Gamta saw this and murmured, "It's worth a try." They added stones of their own. Only Karoon hung back, scared, angry. Stone by stone, the people of the valley built a garden wall together. But they had questions. "If we forgive, must we forget all that has happened?" asked the villagers of Viam. Selma answered, "We will sit together in the garden and decide." "Must we apologize?" asked the villagers of Gamta. "Will the Viams apologize?" Selma answered, "The garden will help us find what is right." Still, Karoon stayed apart, watching and thinking. Villagers set flowers into the soil and planted a tree. And when the garden was complete, its loveliness made everyone smile. "This garden is for all of us," Selma said. "It can help us to put aside hate and learn what forgiveness feels like. Who will join me?" At first, no one moved. No one dared. The two villages had hated each other for a long, long time. It was hard to try a new way. Then Karoon, brave Karoon, stepped forward. "I will join you," he said to Selma. Selma of Viam and Karoon of Gamta stepped into the garden together. They sat under the tree, and they began to talk. What do you think they said? About the Gardens of Forgiveness Foundation by Reverend Lyndon Harris. The Garden of Forgiveness is in Beirut, Lebanon, and it's the vision of Alexandra Asseli, a humanitarian activist and psychotherapist, who has declared that every act of revenge is a time bomb thrown into the future. It was created in the aftermath of a civil war that claimed 300,000 lives from 1985 to 2000. In 2005, I was privileged to take family members who lost loved ones in the tragic events of 9/11 in New York City to plant an olive tree for peace in the Garden of Forgiveness. And standing there on that hallowed ground, we pledged to bring Alexandra's vision to New York and to the world. As Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, "There is no future without forgiveness."